how can you be okay with Sean Duffy going on a road trip sponsored by people who he has to regulate?
There's no allegation that he's not doing his job. A. B. I do think it's good for the U.S. government to promote U.S. interests to the American people.
There wasn't any evidence that Pete Buttigieg wasn't doing his
You don't
job.
remember the containers, miles and miles of containers?
You don't
off
remember the
ports?
plane crashes?
Lord
I mean,
have
I
mercy.
think.
Wait, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
So are you,
During
we just
Buttigieg's-
listed a whole bunch of things that have been
Yes.
going on. This past
We
weekend,
gave that guy the job
somebody
because he said he liked
somebody
trains
was
once.
hit by an airplane on a tarmac
Hey,
in
by the way,
America.
they filmed this
I
months
mean,
ago. He didn't film
We
it
know,
yesterday
those
and put it
things-
out
those
today.
things happen when
it's okay
he was
to
filming.
acknowledge when you were wrong.
Yeah.
And when it was
What do
not
you mean?
okay.
What was I wrong about?
Well, look, so
Pete Buttigieg was horrible,
Well, I
and
don't
he'd
know.
be a horrible president.
You tell me which part is wrong. Is it
Okay,
the,
well,
the
Duffy
Pete
will be too.
Buttigieg paternity leave that it was wrong to criticize that, or is it wrong to criticize?
Before we begin, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share for more breaking political debates and live reactions. Tonight on Abby Phillip's News Night with Abby Phillip, tensions explode as she clashes with Scott Jennings over equal pay, rising living costs, and government leadership. With sharp facts and intense exchanges, Abby Phillip pushes back hard while the debate quickly heats up on live television. Let's get into the moment, everyone.
Gas prices averaging over $4.50 a gallon, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy is defending his return to reality TV. Duffy said that costs for the 5-part series, The Great American Road Trip, featuring his family, were paid for by a nonprofit, that he did not receive a salary or royalties, and that 0 taxpayer dollars were spent on his family over the last 7 months of filming. On X, Duffy accused the radical, miserable left of lying about this trip. The series will air for free on YouTube ahead of America's 250th birthday. In addition to the fact that he's doing all of this while serving in the job that he has, it's also worth noting that this series is being sponsored by a bunch of companies that have business before the Department of Transportation: Boeing, Toyota, Shell, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Lots of problems here.
Tone deafness, self-awareness, lack thereof. At the end of the day, Americans are struggling. Cost of gas, which you mentioned, roads, highways, bridges, which we're still repairing from the Bipartisan Infrastructure Act that Joe Biden passed, which Nancy Mace and other Republicans try to take credit for. The fact that you are filming a reality TV show while Americans are trying to make ends meet, I think it's just it's the definition of being tone deaf. And I think that there are people who do not take this administration seriously because of people like RFK, because of people like Duffy, because of individuals like this who do not feel as if they're up to the task. And then every week we get another headline. Spirit Airlines shut down last week. We had Frontier, I believe, that had a very tragic accident that happened on the runway where somebody trespassed. There's something every week that I believe my Secretary of Transportation should focus on instead of filming another reality show.
Do you think Sean Duffy should be up on the fence blocking deranged
There have
fence
been a
jumpers?
lot of-
Everything.
there
I
have
want him
been
to
a
do it
lot
all.
of-
I want him in the air traffic
There have
control.
been a lot of
let's
issues.
talk about reality TV.
Hold on, we're not talking about reality TV. There have been a lot of incidents.
Before we begin, make sure to like, subscribe, and share for more political news, live debates, and breaking analysis. What makes this controversy hit even harder is that it connects directly to a growing trust problem many Americans already have with government leadership. Families are dealing with rising prices, transportation delays, and ongoing economic pressure. So seeing top officials focused on media appearances instead of solutions creates bad optics instantly. According to federal transportation reports, the airline industry has been struggling with major air traffic controller shortages for years, with staffing problems worsening after the pandemic. The FAA has even warned that these shortages could continue causing delays and safety concerns for years to come. That's why critics are now questioning whether leadership priorities are truly focused on the public. Over the past 2 years, Americans have watched repeated headlines involving near collisions, emergency landings, runway incidents, and major airport system outages. Even when every problem is not tied directly to one administration, voters still expect transportation leaders to project seriousness and accountability during difficult moments. The economic pressure adds even more frustration. High gas prices and expensive airfare continue hurting working families while global instability keeps affecting oil markets and supply chains. Transportation experts have repeatedly pointed out that fuel costs impact nearly everything: groceries, shipping, travel, and daily commuting. Another issue fueling the backlash is the growing concern over corporate partnerships and sponsorships involving public officials. Ethics experts warn that even when no laws are broken, these relationships can create conflict of interest concerns. And before we continue, are you tired of getting only half the story from biased news outlets? One network says one thing, another says the complete opposite. So how do you know what's actually true? That's where ground news comes in. It lets you compare how left, right, and center media outlets are covering the exact same story, helping you see the full picture instead of just one narrative.
Bakari mentioned a few. I mean, one of the first, a massive mid-air collision near Reagan Airport, but also a fire truck and an airplane colliding, killing several people, mass resignations and shortages at the agencies that he oversees, air traffic controllers taking trauma leave after close calls in Newark. I mean, lots of problems with our air traffic control systems, our aviation systems right now. And you do have to ask the question, at this very moment, why? Why do this?
Well, I think the purpose of it is, as I understand it, is to promote American visitation. We have a lot of things in this country that are great. There's something in every state. We have national parks and other things. Truly, it's a great country, and I think the whole point,
he's not
even
the head of tourism, he's
or interior.
Or interior. I mean, he's the transportation secretary.
But you got to get there.
The one thing that people want him to do is keep them safe as they travel in planes, trains, and automobiles. And Americans, a lot of them, are not feeling great about that right now.
Well, they shouldn't, because the Democrats shut down the DHS, put all the TSA guys out of work. 1,300 of them have left the agency. We had to send ICE in. They shouldn't feel very safe because of what the Democrats
did. Fix it and don't do a reality show.
Fix it and don't take a road trip.
He's not in charge of
Reality
DHS.
television, didn't that get someone in the White House? If I'm a politician looking at the power of television, by the way, I'm a participant in reality TV. It's opened so many doors around the world for me. It's a powerful vehicle.
Thank God for Mark Cuban.
Well, Mark and I did some wonderful things together. But the point is, this politician sees the power of media and social media clashing and coming together on social media as a result of reality TV and says to himself, what's wrong with this?
I think you're right.
Maybe one day I want to run for president, and I want a lot of people.
I think you're right.
You're absolutely right.
I rest my case.
A couple years ago.
But that's not what his job is
A couple
right now.
years
Do
ago,
his job well.
when Pete Buttigieg was transportation secretary, you've heard a lot about this from his partner Chasten over the weekend. This was the criticism that he received for taking a paternity leave.
Buttigieg has been on leave from his job since August after adopting a child. Paternity leave, they call it, trying to figure out how to breastfeed. No word on how that went. But now he's back in office as the transportation secretary, and he's deeply amused, he says, to see that dozens of container ships can't get into this country.
Yep. While he bottle fed, we bottlenecked. And while he brought home the bacon, our actual bacon doubled in price.
I'm a pro family leave guy. I believe in it. But when you accept an assignment from the President of the United States and you are confirmed by the U.S. Senate, you're accepting a higher level of responsibility, a higher level of public service. And frankly, you ought to know that goes with some personal sacrifice. He's not a middle manager at Dunder Mifflin, Scranton, PA, okay? He is the Secretary of Transportation.
First of all, Scott, I missed the hat.
Let me just tell you.
Second
I got
of all,
that hat. That was in Arizona, Tombstone, Arizona.
Second of all, if you weren't okay with Pete Buttigieg taking a paternity leave, which according to his partner was because their son was in the ICU,
Correct.
Their newborn son was in the ICU, how can you be okay with Sean Duffy going on a road trip sponsored by people who he has to regulate?
There's no allegation that he's not doing his job. A. B. I do think it's good for the U.S. government to promote U.S. interests to the American people.
There wasn't any evidence that Pete Buttigieg wasn't doing his
You don't
job.
remember the containers, miles and miles of containers?
You don't
off
remember the
ports?
plane crashes?
Lord
I
have
mean,
mercy.
I think.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
So are you,
During
we just
Buttigieg's-
listed a whole bunch of things that have been
Yes.
going on. This past
We
weekend,
gave that guy the job
somebody
because he said he liked
somebody
trains
was
once.
hit by an airplane on a tarmac in
By the way,
America.
they filmed this months ago. He didn't film
We
it
know,
yesterday
those
and put it
things-
out
those
today.
things happen when
it's okay
he was
to
filming.
acknowledge when you were wrong.
Yeah.
And when it was
What do you
not
mean?
okay.
What was I wrong about?
Well, look, so
Pete Buttigieg was horrible,
Well, I
and
don't
he'd
know.
be a horrible president.
You tell me which part is wrong. Is it
Okay,
the
well,
Pete
Duffy would be too.
Buttigieg paternity leave that it was wrong to criticize that, or is it wrong to criticize Sean Duffy now? Which
Look, people are you have every right to criticize him. I just don't know what the allegation is that he's somehow not doing his job properly. I think he's overseeing a transformation of our air traffic control
I'm
system.
worried about something
Here's
else.
what I will just say.
I'm worried this show's going to crowd up my Emmy chances for a fifth Emmy.
We all do television, and some of us prepare to do television. And when you are actually doing something and you put an effort, you pay attention to it. What I don't want any of our secretaries paying attention to is how they do television. And it feels like
communicating?
No.
With the American people?
He's not communicating. He was filming it for 7 months while plane crashes were happening. And you don't think this was a distraction?
No.
All right,
Okay,
we got to leave it there.
Before we begin, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share for more breaking political coverage and in-depth analysis. What's really fueling this debate is the growing collapse of public trust around transportation safety and federal oversight. Over the last few years, the FAA has repeatedly warned about serious air traffic controller shortages, with some facilities reportedly operating below recommended staffing levels. At the same time, investigators have documented an increase in near-miss runway incidents, raising concerns about overworked staff and aging infrastructure. The bigger issue is that Americans were promised major improvements. The 2021 bipartisan infrastructure law committed over $1 trillion to rebuilding roads, airports, and transit systems, but progress has been slower than many expected. Travelers are still dealing with delays, cancellations, overcrowded airports, and outdated systems, creating a huge gap between public expectations and everyday reality. Corporate influence is also becoming a major talking point. Large airline groups and aviation companies have spent years lobbying federal agencies. So when government officials appear tied to sponsored media projects or corporate partnerships, critics argue it creates serious perception problems, even if no laws are technically broken. Public frustration is already at a boiling point. With rising airfare, fuel prices, and constant travel disruptions, many Americans are losing confidence in institutions that are supposed to keep the system running safely and efficiently. That's why debates like this are connecting so strongly right now. For many voters, it's no longer just about politics. It's about whether leaders are truly focused on fixing a system that experts themselves say is under serious strain. And before we continue, are you tired of getting only half the story from biased news outlets? One network says one thing, another says the complete opposite. So how do you know what's actually true? That's where ground news comes in. It lets you compare how left, right, and center media outlets are covering the exact same story, helping you see the full picture instead of just one narrative.